Okay. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, stop, pause, go watch it right now. The link is in the description. I am serious. Go. Because if you don't watch part 1, none of what I'm about to tell you is going to make any sense. And I need it to make sense. Because what I'm about to tell you is genuinely the most unhinged, most embarrassing, why would you do that, Zara, thing I have ever witnessed in my life. Like you guys. You remember how I accidentally texted my CEO, the most powerful woman in the building, at night, from her personal phone, to say I had a crush on her? Yeah, we are picking up right there. And if you are new here, first of all, hi, welcome. You are so lucky you found this channel. Please subscribe. It literally takes 1 second, and subscribing would mean everything to me, okay? Just one button. That is all I am asking. Okay, are you subscribed? Good. You are one of us now. There is no leaving. Now, let's get into it. Because trust me, you are not ready for what happens next. Monday was going to kill me. I did not sleep. Not properly. Not deeply. Not in any way that could be described as rest. I closed my eyes, I opened them. I checked my phone. I read the messages like there was a version of them that said something different. There wasn't. At some point I must have drifted off because my alarm went off and it felt like a personal attack. Monday. Of course it was Monday. I lay there for a moment staring at the ceiling, fully aware that getting out of bed meant facing reality and staying in bed would not change the fact that reality was already waiting for me. But before Monday, there was Saturday. Saturday passed slowly. I cleaned my room, which is what I do when I have energy I don't know what to do with. I reorganized my desk. I made a proper breakfast and ate it at the table like a person who had their life together. Then I called Nadia. She picked up immediately. I heard, she said. Jade told you. Jade told me last night at 2 a.m. I'm sorry. Don't be. How are you? I'm functioning. That's a low bar. It's the bar I have available right now. She almost laughed. Okay, tell me where your head is. I told her everything. The ceiling staring, the tea I didn't drink, the 47 readings of the message. All of it. Nadia listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she was quiet for a moment. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, she said. Okay. If Monday morning was not happening, if there was no message, no meeting, no professional complication, what would you want? I didn't answer immediately. Because the honest answer required saying out loud something I had been moving around carefully for weeks. I'd want to know her, I said finally. Actually know her. Not just the CEO version. The person who replies at 7 a.m. and leaves coffee on desks and asks questions she doesn't have to ask. Nadia was quiet. That's your answer then, she said. That doesn't solve Monday. No, she agreed, but it tells you what you're walking in there for. I held my phone for a long moment after she hung up. She was right. I knew what I wanted. The question was what she wanted, and I wouldn't know that until Monday. Sunday, I did not look at my phone more than necessary. This was a lie. I looked at my phone constantly. I simply did not do anything with it. Jade made dinner. We watched something neither of us could fully concentrate on. We went to bed at a reasonable hour. I laid out my outfit for Monday, not the safe, neutral, professional clothes I had been wearing since day one. Something better. Deliberately better. The kind of outfit that said I know what I'm walking into and I am showing up as myself, which was either confidence or the specific kind of chaos that comes from having nothing left to lose. Possibly both. I told myself whatever happens today is information. I closed my eyes, and somehow I slept. No, that's not helpful. I have died. You have not died. I am spiritually deceased. Get up. I can't go. You have to go. I cannot physically walk into that office. You absolutely can. I sent my CEO a message saying I have a crush on her. Yes, that is not something people recover from. People recover from worse? No, they don't. They do. Name one. People who reply all to company emails. That is not the same. That is worse. That is not worse. That is definitely worse. I sat up slowly. This is targeted, I said. This is specifically about me and one specific person. That is unfortunately very true. I dropped my head into my hands. I'm not going. You're going. I'm not going. You're going. We stared at each other across the doorframe. Fine, I said, but I'm not speaking. That is not how jobs work. That is how today works. Zara, that tone, the serious one. You cannot disappear every time something uncomfortable happens. I can try. You can try internally, she allowed. Thank you. Get dressed. Getting dressed felt like preparing for something significantly more serious than a workday. Not dramatic, just important. Every decision felt like it mattered more than it should. I looked at the outfit I had laid out the night before. Then I looked at my usual safe clothes. Then back at the outfit. I wore the outfit. Because I had nothing left to lose and I was showing up as myself. The office looked exactly the same when I arrived, which felt unfair. There should have been some visible sign that something had happened. A shift. A warning. A notice on the door that said, "Do not enter if you have made poor life decisions." There was nothing. Just the same building, the same glass, the same quiet efficiency. I walked in. Badge, smile, normal, professional, functioning. I made it to my desk, sat down, turned on my computer, opened my emails, read nothing, understood nothing, because my brain was waiting for one thing, one inevitable, unavoidable thing. Morning. I looked up. Diana, composed as always. Morning, I said. She studied me for half a second longer than usual. You look tired. I am tired. First weeks are hard, she said simply. She nodded like that explained everything. It did not explain anything, but I appreciated the assumption. Meeting moved to 10, she added. I know. She nodded and walked away. I looked back at my screen and pretended to work, very convincingly, for approximately 40 minutes. And then, Zara. I froze, completely, immediately, because I knew that voice. I looked up. Diana was standing at my desk again. Victoria would like to see you, she said. She's in her office. Her expression was neutral and professional, but there was something in her eyes. Not curiosity, not concern. Something closer to interest, like she was watching something unfold and had front row seats. I nodded, stood up slowly, because standing up felt like committing to something irreversible. This is fine, I said quietly. Diana tilted her head slightly. Is it? Yes. She didn't respond, which felt intentional. Walking to her office should not have felt like that. It was a hallway, a normal short hallway, and yet every step felt louder than it should and every second felt longer than it was. I reached the door, stopped, took a breath, knocked. Come in, her voice, calm, even, unchanged. I opened the door, stepped inside, closed it behind me, and just like that it was just us. No audience, no distractions, no escape. She was standing by her desk, jacket off, sleeves slightly rolled, looking exactly like she belonged here, like this space had been built around her. Sit, she said. I sat. Because of course I did. She walked around the desk slowly and deliberately and sat across from me, hands resting lightly on the table. Eyes on me. Not harsh, not soft, just focused. I folded my hands together because they needed somewhere to go, and because I needed to look like a person who was not currently reconsidering every decision she had ever made. Silence. Not long, just enough. I assume you know why you're here, she said. Yes. My voice was steady. That was something, she nodded once. Like that confirmed something. Good. Then nothing. No lecture. No visible frustration. No disappointment, which somehow made it worse because I had prepared for disappointment and disapproval and consequences. Not this. Not calm and controlled and measured. You sent a message, she said. Yes. Intended for someone else. Yes. Another nod. Like we were discussing something routine. Something that did not have the ability to ruin my entire professional existence. It happens, she said. I blinked. It does. It does. My brain tried to process that. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. Because that was not the reaction I had expected at all. I apologize, I said, because that felt necessary and appropriate and correct. She watched me for a second. Be more careful, she said. I will. I expect you to. I will. Another short controlled pause, and then something shifted. Not dramatically, not obviously, just slightly. Your work has been good, she said. I blinked again, because this was not the direction I had expected this conversation to go. Thank you, I said. You should speak in meetings, she continued. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was consistent. You had something to add last week, she said. Yes. You didn't. No. Why? I hesitated for just a moment. Then I gave her the same answer I had given before because it was still true. You make people nervous. She considered that briefly. Adjust, she said. Simple, direct, like everything else. I will. She nodded once. Like that was settled. Like that was enough. And then the moment passed. Just like that, conversation closed. Back to work, she said. I stood, turned, walked to the door, opened it, and just before I stepped out, I stopped. Turned back. Yes. Her gaze held mine, steady, unmoving, and for a second, something that didn't belong in a professional conversation slipped through. Barely. Almost invisible. But there. Be careful who you send things to, she said, a pause, small and precise, and what you say. My heart did something very inconvenient. Yes, I said. Then I left. I walked back to my desk, sat down, opened my laptop, stared at the screen, because something about that conversation was not what it should have been. Not as bad. Not as harsh. Not as final. It was controlled and measured and contained like everything else about her. But underneath that, something else had been there. Just for a second. Just enough to matter. Diana glanced at me from across the desk. Well, she asked. It was fine, I said. She watched me for a second longer, then nodded. Of course it was. I looked back at my screen, took a slow breath, and tried to settle into something normal again, because the disaster had not happened. I still had my job. I was still here. Everything was fine, which was confusing, because it didn't feel like the end of something. It felt like the beginning of something else. And I wasn't sure that was better, but I was paying attention, and so was she, and for now, that was enough. Something shifted after that conversation, not loudly, not in a way anyone could point at and name, but it shifted, and the worst part was, it wasn't just in my head. Something changed after Monday, not in a way anyone announced, not in a way you could point at and explain, but it changed. And the worst part was I noticed it immediately. The first sign was the meeting. It was small, almost nothing, which is how things like this always start, quiet enough that you can pretend you're imagining it. Zara, Victoria said. Just my name, nothing else. No build-up, no warning. The room didn't react, but I did, because she didn't usually do that, not like that. What do you think? She added. Simple. Direct, like it was normal. Like she had always asked me things in meetings. Like I hadn't spent the first week of my job actively avoiding speaking in front of her. Every eye in the room shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. Just aware. I felt it. Of course I felt it, but this time I didn't freeze. I didn't look down. I didn't pretend I had nothing to say. I took a breath. I think we're focusing on the wrong metric, I said. My voice was steady, which was new. Engagement isn't dropping because the content is bad. It's dropping because the audience doesn't know what to expect anymore. Silence. Not awkward, not tense, just listening. Victoria nodded slightly. Go on. So I did. I explained clearly. The way I would explain it if I was alone. The way I would explain it if I wasn't thinking about her watching me. And when I finished, there was that pause again. The one that always came before something mattered. Victoria leaned back slightly, considered. Then adjust the strategy, she said. Credit to the thinking that got us there. My brain paused, because that wasn't normal. Not the adjustment, not the decision. The credit, public, clear, intentional. I looked down at my notebook because looking at her felt like a mistake, because that meant something. And I didn't want to decide what yet. Temmie pressed her knee briefly against mine under the table. I took it as the compliment it was and kept my eyes on my notes. The second sign was the coffee. It was already on my desk when I got back from the meeting. Same place, same cup, same order, exactly the way I take it. I stared at it for a full 5 seconds. Second time, Temmie said from the desk across from mine. I looked up. What? She smiled, small, knowing. Second time it's appeared like that. I don't know what you're talking about. You do. I don't. You do. She shrugged, turned back to her screen, like she hadn't just said something that made everything slightly more complicated than it already was. I looked back at the coffee carefully, like it might explain itself. It did not. I picked it up. It was warm in the way that meant it had been made recently, not sitting somewhere, made and brought, which meant she had thought about it before arriving. I took a sip. It was exact, which was worse, much worse. The third sign was Diana. Of course it was Diana. It was always going to be Diana. She found me in the kitchen because that is where things like this happen. Quiet, private, controlled. You're settling in quickly, she said. I turned. She was leaning against the counter, composed as always, watching me like she had already formed an opinion and was just waiting to confirm it. I'm doing my job, I said. More than that. I frowned slightly. What does that mean? She smiled. Small, careful. It means she's already decided something about it. Something about it, not you, not your work. It, like I was a situation. I held her gaze. What has she decided? Diana tilted her head, considering. Then I don't think you're the type she usually notices. That landed. Not harsh, not aggressive, just precise. And yet, she added lightly, and yet, I didn't respond because there were too many ways to respond to that. None of them helpful. Diana straightened, pushed off the counter. You should be careful, she said. I am being careful, I said. She looked at me. Direct. Unblinking. No, she said calmly. You're just hoping you don't have to be. And then she walked away. I stood in the kitchen for a moment with my tea, and those words sitting somewhere in the back of my mind where I would examine them later. She's already decided something about it. The fourth sign was smaller, quieter, but somehow worse, because it didn't involve work or meetings or anything that made sense in a professional context. It happened in passing. Just a moment. I was heading back to my desk. She was walking the other way. We crossed paths. Close. Not touching, but close enough to notice. Her gaze moved over me. Brief. unavoidable. "You're different today," she said. I stopped, turned. "What?" She looked at me, actually looked. Not like in meetings. Not like when she was evaluating, just looking. "More certain," she said. That was unexpected. "I spoke in the meeting," I said. "Yes, that's different." "It is." A pause. Small. Then, "It suits you." And for a second, just a second, there was something there. Not quite a smile, but so close it almost counted. Something warmer than her usual controlled expression. Something that didn't belong to the CEO version of her. Something that felt like the person underneath. Then it was gone. Just like that. Replaced with the same controlled expression. The same distance. The same Victoria chase. She nodded once. Turned. Walked away. Like she hadn't just said something that would sit in my head for the rest of the day. Timmy appeared beside me in the corridor. She said nothing. She simply steered me gently back toward our desks with one hand on my arm and the expression of someone watching something unfold exactly as expected. When we sat down, she leaned over. "It suits you," she said quietly, in a voice that was trying very hard not to be delighted. "Don't," I said. "I'm not saying anything." "You're saying everything." "I'm saying nothing." She turned back to her screen. I put my head down on my desk for exactly 3 seconds. Then I sat up and opened my laptop and got back to work. By the time the day ended, I had a pattern. Not a clean one, not a safe one, but a pattern she was watching, not obviously, not constantly, but enough. Enough to matter. Enough to notice. And the worst part was, I was noticing too. I was paying attention. To the moments. To the tone. To the things she didn't say and the things she did. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, something shifted. Not just in the office. Not just in her. In me. Because this was no longer just something I was trying to survive. Or avoid. Or ignore. Now I was involved. And that was where things got dangerous. That evening I lay on my bed and thought about 6 weeks of small things. The reply at 7:12 a.m. The coffee twice now. The public credit in the meeting. The corridor comment about the data. The conference room question about why she had moved in-house. The Monday morning conversation that had been too measured to be purely professional. The almost smile. Individually, they were small. Together, they were a pattern. And I was good at patterns. That was literally my job. I picked up my phone, opened her contact, the yacht. No new messages. I thought about Diana's words. She's already decided something about it. I thought about Nadia's voice from that Saturday morning. So is she. I put my phone face down on my nightstand. I was not going to send anything. I was not going to do anything that moved faster than what was already moving. But I was done pretending I didn't see it. Done pretending the small things were nothing. Done pretending that a woman who did everything with precision and intention was leaving coffee on my desk and saying it suits you for no particular reason. I was paying attention, and so was she. And something was coming. I could feel it the way you feel a change in weather before it arrives, in the quality of the air, in the way everything had started feeling different without anything visibly shifting yet. Something was coming. I didn't know exactly what form it would take, but I was ready. Company events are built on a lie. The lie is that they are optional. The second lie is that they are enjoyable. I stood in my room at 6:12 p.m. staring at my bed where Jade had laid out what she clearly believed was my future. "I'm not wearing that," I said. "You are wearing that," Jade said. "That is the dress from the yacht. That is correct. That dress started a problem. That dress revealed a problem. That dress created chaos. That dress created opportunity. That dress is dangerous. That dress is effective. That dress is illegal in some countries. That dress is confidence." We stared at each other. "No," I said. "Yes." She said, "No. Yes. This is a work event. I need to look professional. You will look professional." "That is not professional. That is extremely professional." I crossed my arms. "I had an outfit. You had a safe outfit. Safe is appropriate. Safe is hiding. I am not hiding. You are. I am not." "You are." I exhaled slowly, because this was going exactly how it always went with Jade. Every time, without exception. "I'm not wearing the yacht dress," I said. "You don't have another option." "I do have another option." "Where is it?" "In my head." Jade smiled, slowly, like she had already won. "Exactly," she said. 40 minutes later, I was wearing the dress. Again, which felt like a mistake I was repeating on purpose. It fit the same. Looked the same. Felt different. Because this time I knew exactly what it did. I looked at myself in the mirror. There was no pretending this didn't work. It worked. Annoyingly, unfairly, completely. "I don't like this," I said. "You love this," Jade said. "I don't like that I love this. That's valid." I adjusted the strap, looked one more time, then looked away quickly because if I stared too long I would start thinking, and thinking would lead to her. And we were not doing that. The venue was worse than the yacht, because this time I couldn't leave. Not immediately. Not without being seen. Not without it meaning something. Soft lights. Low music. People who looked like they had never once rushed for anything in their lives. I stepped in carefully, like the floor might judge me. "Relax," Jade said beside me. "I am relaxed." "You look like you're about to report the event." "I am observing." "You are panicking." "I am not panicking. You are externally calm and internally screaming." "That is a strong assumption." "That is an accurate assumption." I didn't respond, because it was accurate. The first 10 minutes passed like survival, polite smiles, short conversations, names I did not retain. I stayed close to Jade because that felt like a strategy. And then because apparently the universe had decided that enough time had passed for things to get complicated, the energy in the room shifted. That specific shift. The one I recognized now without needing confirmation. I turned. Victoria Chase had just arrived, and I understood immediately why the room had rearranged itself. Dark burgundy dress, hair down and natural, full and effortless in a way I had never seen in the office. The watch, the posture, the presence that didn't announce itself because it had never needed to. She was talking to someone from the client side. She hadn't seen me yet, or if she had, she hadn't reacted. I looked back at my drink. I was a professional. I was here professionally. I was going to behave exactly like a professional person for the entirety of this evening. Then I felt it. The specific focused sensation of one particular person's attention landing on you from across a room and not immediately moving away. I turned my head slowly. She was looking at me. Not at the room, not at the client who was still talking. At me. And unlike every other time, unlike the office, unlike the meetings, unlike every moment where her expression had been controlled and managed and carefully professional, something was different. She looked at me the way people look at something they weren't expecting. The way people look when something catches them before they can decide how to react. 1 second of something unguarded. Then the control came back and settled over it like a door closing quietly. But I saw it, and something in my chest did something very inconvenient. She crossed the room. I didn't move, because moving felt like admitting I had been watching, which I had been, but I wasn't admitting that. "You came," she said when she reached me. "I work here," I said, which was not my strongest moment. Something shifted in her expression, almost a smile. Almost. "I noticed," she said. Her gaze moved briefly over the dress. The same dress, and this time she didn't pretend not to recognize it. "That's familiar," she added. My heart did something unhelpful. "It's the only thing I had," I said. "That's not true." "No? No, you chose it," I blinked. 'Cause she was right again, and I didn't like that. Jade appeared out of nowhere. Of course she did. "Hi," she said brightly. "I'm Jade." Victoria's gaze shifted, measured, evaluating. "Victoria," she said. "I know." Jade smiled. "This is my best friend. She's very talented, slightly dramatic, makes questionable decisions under pressure." She paused. "She once sent back champagne at a party." Victoria's attention snapped back to me, sharp, interested. "Did you?" she said. "I had an interview the next morning," I said. "That wasn't why," she said. And that line, that exact line, said the same way it had been said the first time, landed somewhere deep and stayed there. Jade looked between us slowly. "Oh," she said quietly. "Oh, then I'm going to get a drink, far away from whatever this is." And she left, quickly, which was the most useful thing she had done all evening. Silence settled between us, not awkward, not comfortable, just present. "You don't like events," she said. That stopped me. "How do you know that? You stay near exits." I blinked. "You don't make eye contact unless you have to." Also true. "You leave conversations early." Very true. "And you count time instead of enjoying it." I stared at her. "You've been watching me." She held my gaze. "Yes. Not defensive, not apologetic, just honest. And that was worse, because now I didn't know what to do with it." "You didn't answer my message," she said. My breath caught. "Of course we were here." "I didn't know how to respond," I said. "That's fair," you said, noted. I did. That is not a normal response. It was controlled. It was terrifying. Something changed in her expression, not quite amusement, but close. "You weren't supposed to send it," she said. "I'm aware. And yet, a pause. "Here we are." "Yes," she said. "Here we are." A silence stretched between us. Longer. Quieter. The kind that feels like something is about to be said. Then Victoria. Someone called her name from across the room. The moment broke. Clean and immediate. She looked away. Back to the room. Back to being her. "Excuse me," she said. And just like that she was gone. Pulled back into the event like it had claimed her. I stood there for a moment. Then I moved. Away from the center of the room. Toward the edge of the rooftop where the city stretched out below and the air was cooler and the noise was slightly less. I needed 30 seconds of not managing my expression. Just 30 seconds. I stood at the railing, looked at the city, breathed. "You moved," her voice, from my left. Close. I turned, She was standing beside me, not in front of me, beside me, like we'd both simply ended up here independently and were sharing the same section of Rooftop. I needed air, I said. It's a rooftop, she said. It's all air. I needed this specific air. Something that was genuinely close to a smile this time. Closer than anything I had seen from her before. Fair, she said. We stood side by side looking at the city below. The event continued behind us like it existed in a separate version of the evening. And in this version, the quiet one, the rooftop one, the one where neither of us was performing anything, it felt different. She felt different. You're less managed out here, I said. She looked at me. You noticed. I notice things, I said. It's my job. Is that all it is? The question landed quietly, without aggression, without pressure, just honest. The way she said things when she wasn't being the CEO. I looked at the city. No, I said. It's not all it is. A pause. Long and loaded, and neither of us filling it with something smaller than what it actually was. The dress, she said finally. I looked at her. What about it? Her gaze moved briefly over me in the way it had across the room, except closer now. More deliberate. Less filtered. Better, she said quietly. One word, and the way she said it made it mean more than it should have. I looked back at the city. My drink was warm in my hand. The lights below were doing something beautiful that I was only partially paying attention to. You're different here too, I said. How? Less controlled. Everyone is less controlled outside the office. This is less than that, I said. She was quiet for a moment. Then this isn't work, she said simply. And that was the problem. Because if this wasn't work, then what was it? And what were we? And what was happening on this rooftop in this version of the evening where neither of us was pretending? The silence that followed was the longest one yet. Not uncomfortable. Something closer to honest. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at it briefly. I have to go back, she said. I know, I said. She didn't move immediately, just stood there for one more second, looking at the city, standing beside me, being slightly more real than either of us had planned for. Then she straightened, the professional distance returning like something she was picking back up. Good evening, Mitchell, she said. Good evening, I said. She walked back into the event. I watched her go. Then I turned back to the city and stood there and breathed. My phone buzzed. Jade, how is it going? I stared at the message for a moment. Then I typed back. Send help. 3 dots. Then, I knew it. Then details when you get home. Then also you're welcome for the dress. I put my phone in my bag. I straightened up. I went back into the event like a professional person who had everything under control. I did not have everything under control. I didn't want the night to end. And standing on that rooftop in the quiet version of the evening where things were slightly more honest than they should have been, I had a feeling she didn't either. But neither of us had said it out loud yet, and that, for now, was where we still were. Deadlines change the energy of a room, not gradually, not gently. 1 minute everything is normal, emails, conversations, people pretending they are not tired, and the next minute everyone is operating on urgency and the quiet understanding that no one is leaving until the work is done. By Thursday night, the office felt different. Sharper, quieter, focused in a way that made time feel faster and slower at the same time. Anyone who doesn't need to be here can go, someone said around 8. No one moved. Of course no one moved, because everyone needed to be there, or at least everyone believed they did. I sat at my desk, laptop open, 3 tabs deep into campaign analytics and one bad decision away from overthinking everything I had done that week. The Henderson rollout was tomorrow. Everything had to be right, which meant everything had to be checked, and rechecked, and then checked again just in case something had decided to go wrong quietly. Zara, Diana, still composed, still polished, still entirely too put together for someone who had also been here all day. You can go if you're done, she said. I'm not done. You are done. I'm refining. You've been refining for an hour. I'm improving. You're overthinking. I'm preventing mistakes. She studied me for a second. Then suit yourself, she said, and walked away, which was fair and also slightly annoying. Time passed, slowly, then quickly, then not at all. People started leaving one by one, chairs emptying, lights dimming slightly, voices fading, until the office quieted. Not completely, just enough. Enough that every small sound felt louder than it should. The click of a keyboard, the shift of a chair, the soft hum of something running in the background. I leaned back slightly, rolled my shoulders, closed one tab, opened another, focused, because that was easier, because work made sense, because work didn't. You're still here. I didn't look up immediately, because I knew that voice now. Knew it in a way that didn't require confirmation. Knew it in a way that made my brain pause before my body did. Yes, I said. Then I looked up. Victoria was standing a few feet away. jacket gone, sleeves rolled slightly, less formal, less distant, the version of her that existed when the day had been long and there was nobody left to perform for. You could have left, she said. So could you. I had a reason to stay. So do I. She tilted her head slightly, considering. Your part was done an hour ago. I wanted to check it again. You've checked it 3 times, 4. That's not necessary. That's how mistakes happen. A pause, short. Then you don't trust your work, she said. I blinked. That's not what I said. It's what you're doing. I leaned back in my chair slightly, crossed my arms. I said, I take it seriously. She watched me, not interrupting, not correcting, just watching. And for a second it felt like the yacht again, not the setting, the attention, focused, unmoving. You can stay, she said finally. Thank you, but you don't need to. I know. Then why are you? I hesitated, because answering that honestly felt like stepping into something, and not answering felt worse. I like knowing it's right, I said. Her gaze didn't shift, didn't soften, but something about it changed, slightly. That's not a bad habit, she said. I didn't think it was. It becomes one if you don't stop. I'll stop. When? When I'm done. You're done. I didn't respond, because she wasn't wrong, and I didn't like that. She walked past my desk toward the glass wall overlooking the city, stopped there, looked out, and for a second it was quiet again. Not awkward. Not heavy. Just quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. The kind that feels like something is being built inside it. I turned back to my screen, tried to focus, failed, because now I was aware of her being there, of the fact that everyone else had left, of the fact that this was not exactly normal. You don't talk much in meetings, she said. I exhaled slowly, because of course, we were here now. I've been told that, I said. You had something to say the first day. Yes, you didn't say it. No, why? I looked at my screen, then closed my laptop, because pretending to work through this conversation felt pointless. You're intimidating, I said. Direct, simple, true. She didn't react immediately, didn't deny it, didn't correct it, just took it in. I don't intend to be, she said. I don't think you do. Then why? I looked at her, actually looked. Because you don't hesitate, I said. You don't second guess yourself. You don't ask if something is right, you decide that it is. A pause. That makes people careful. Careful isn't a bad thing. It is if it stops them from speaking. Silence. Not uncomfortable, just real. She turned slightly. Not fully. Just enough. You spoke today, she said. I did. Why? I thought about that. Actually thought because it mattered. I knew I was right, I said. And before. I knew I was right then too. Then what changed? I hesitated. Then you asked me directly. She held my gaze. And that matters. Yes. Why? Because it meant you expected an answer. Another pause. Longer, more intentional. I always expect an answer, she said. Not from everyone. Something moved in her expression. Not visible. Not obvious. But there. You're observant, she said. I have to be. Why? Because I don't walk into rooms like I belong there. She studied me carefully. And now, I looked at her, then away, then back again. I'm working on it, I said. Silence settled again. Different this time. Less distant, less guarded. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. The kind that feels like something is being built inside it. You were different at the event, she said. I let out a quiet breath. Less terrified. Yes. Her voice was softer, not by much, but enough. Why? I smiled slightly without meaning to. I wasn't in the office. That's all it takes. That's not all it takes. Then what? I hesitated, because this answer felt dangerous, but I gave it anyway. You were different too. She didn't look away. How? Less controlled. That word again, and this time it stayed. A beat passed. That's not something I usually hear, she said. I'm not most people. That's becoming clear. There was something in that. Something quiet that made my chest feel different. She stepped forward. One step. I didn't move, didn't step back, didn't look away. That was the first mistake. Or maybe the first decision. Time stretched. Soft. Unrushed. Like neither of us was in a hurry to end it. Like this mattered. You sent that message, she said. And just like that we were back. But not in the same way. Not sharp. Not tense. Just acknowledged. I did, I said. You didn't mean to. I did not. And yet. A pause. Closer. Quieter. And was it true? She asked. My breath caught. Because there it was. Not hidden, not avoided, direct. And I didn't have a safe answer. I didn't know you then, I said. That wasn't the question. I know. Silence. Longer this time. Heavier. Then I don't know you now, I added. That's not true. It's not enough. She held my gaze, unmoving. And if you did, she said. If I did, what? If you knew me. I swallowed, because this was the edge. And I knew it. I'd want to, I said. Honest. Too honest, but true. Something shifted between us. Small, but undeniable. She was closer now. Close enough that I could see the exact moment her expression softened. Just slightly, just enough. Zara, she said, my name. Lower, quieter, not work, not distance, just mine, yes. That was all I managed, because my brain had stopped helping. Her hand moved. Slow, deliberate, not rushed, not unsure, and then it stopped at my wrist, light, barely there, but enough. Enough that my entire body noticed. Enough that I didn't breathe properly. You don't look away, she said. I don't want to. That slipped out, unfiltered, too honest, too late to take back. Her thumb shifted slightly, just barely. A small movement. But it sent something through me that had nothing to do with logic, nothing to do with work, nothing to do with anything safe. You should, she said. But she didn't let go. That was the problem. She didn't let go. I stepped closer. I don't remember deciding to. I don't remember thinking about it. I just did. And now there was no space, no distance, no pretending this was normal. Her gaze dropped, briefly, to my lips. And that was it. That was the moment. The one you don't come back from. I felt it before it happened. That shift. That pull. That almost. Her hand tightened slightly around my wrist, not holding me back, not pulling me forward. Just there. And I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't think. Because if I did, this would end. Her forehead almost touched mine. Almost. So close it felt intentional. So close it felt like if either of us moved just slightly. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Everything held in that one moment. One breath. One choice. And for a second it felt like something might happen. Something real. Something that would change everything. Then, we can't do this. Her voice. Low. Controlled. But not steady. Not completely. Not this time. Then she let go. Stepped back. Clean, controlled, like it hadn't almost happened, like we hadn't both felt it. We both stepped back, not just physically, internally too, like we had reached a line neither of us was ready to cross, not yet. I should go, I said, yes. Neither of us moved for a second longer. Then I stood, picked up my bag, turned off my laptop. Good night, I said, good night. I walked out, didn't look back, because I knew if I did I might not leave. Outside the building, the city was cool and late and going about its business, entirely unbothered by what had just happened on the 14th floor. I called Jade. She picked up immediately. You're still alive. I'm alive. How was the late night? I stood on the pavement and thought about how to answer that. Jade, I said. What? She pulled my file before my interview was scheduled. Silence. She knew who I was the whole time. More silence. She said it's complicated and real. The longest silence yet. Then Zara, I know. She said real. I know Jade. Complicated and real. I know. That woman is. I know, I said. A pause. Then Jade's voice came back softer. Are you okay? I looked up at the building, at the 14th floor where one light was still on, where she was probably still sitting, looking at the city, being complicated and real in an empty office at nearly 11 p.m. I think so, I said. Come home, Jade said. I'm coming. I started walking, and I thought about a real smile I had never seen before tonight. And a word that meant more from her than from anyone else. And a hand at my wrist that had not let go until it had to. And a forehead that had almost touched mine in the quiet of an empty office. Real. This was not just work anymore, and we both knew it. That night I didn't sleep. Not because of panic, not because of stress. Because of everything else, because of the conversation, because of the way she had looked at me, because of the question she had asked and the answer I had given. Because of how close we had come to something neither of us was ready to name yet, but both of us had felt completely, and somewhere in the middle of all of that one thought stayed. Clear, unavoidable, dangerous. This was not just work anymore, and we both knew it, and the line we hadn't crossed yet was getting smaller every time. I want to talk about Marcus Webb, not because he is important, not because he changed anything in any significant way. Not because what happened with Marcus Webb was dramatic or serious or anything that required real attention, but because Marcus Webb arrived on a Monday morning in the specific way that only people who have no idea what they are walking into can arrive. cheerfully, confidently, and with absolutely no awareness of the situation he was about to make significantly more complicated. New people change the balance of a room. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough that you notice, enough that something feels slightly different even if nothing has technically gone wrong. His name had appeared on a company-wide email Friday afternoon. New senior content strategist, starting Monday, background in brand partnerships, highly recommended. I read it, filed it, forgot about it by Saturday morning. That was my first mistake. Monday arrived the way Mondays always arrived, without asking if this was a good time. I was at my desk by 8:30, tea on my left, laptop open, focused. Existing in the particular state of early morning work where everything feels manageable. At 9:15, the elevator opened and Marcus Webb walked onto the 14th floor. I knew this because everyone looked up. New person energy. The office equivalent of a head turn. He was fine. That was the honest assessment. Medium height. Broad shoulders. The kind of easy, confident smile that suggested he had never once in his life walked into a room and wondered if he belonged there. The specific energy of someone who was accustomed to being well received and expected this to continue. Diana crossed the floor to greet him. Introduction tour beginning exactly the way mine had, except with considerably less internal chaos. I watched for a moment, went back to my screen. Not my concern. 10 minutes later, he was at my desk. Zara, right? I looked up, paused. Because that confidence. Yes, he smiled. Easy. Controlled. The kind of smile that knew exactly what it was doing. I'm Marcus, new strategist. Welcome, I said. Thanks. He didn't leave. Which was the first sign. Most people introduced themselves and moved on. Marcus stayed. I've heard about you, he added. What? Relax, he said lightly. Good things. I am relaxed. You don't look relaxed. I am. You look like you're trying to decide if I'm a problem. I blinked, because that was uncomfortably accurate. I'm not, I said. You are a little. I'm not. You are. I'm not. He smiled slightly wider, like that had confirmed something for him. He came back at 9:45 when I was at the coffee machine. Oat milk, right? He said. I heard you mention it on Tuesday's call. I looked at him. That was my first week. I pay attention, he said simply. I looked at the coffee he had made without being asked. Then I looked at the version of that gesture that had appeared on my desk twice before from a different source. Then I looked at my screen and decided not to examine that parallel too closely. Thank you, I said, and went back to my desk. The second sign came shortly after. He leaned against the edge of my desk. Casual, like he had been there before. So you're the one she asked questions to. My brain paused. Who? Marcus gave me a very specific look. The CEO. That's work. That's attention. That's not attention. That's definitely attention. I looked back at my screen. I just do my job, I said. And she just notices you, he replied. Same sentence, different person, worse impact. The third sign was lunch. We ended up at the same table, not planned, just inevitable. Marcus sat across from me close enough to be in my space, not close enough to be inappropriate. Just intentional. You don't talk much, he said. I talk when I need to. That's dangerous. How? People like me take advantage of that. I looked up. People like you. Confident, he said, slightly annoying, very persistent. That sounds like a problem. That depends on who you ask. He smiled again. And this time it lingered. You're interesting, he added. That's concerning. Why? You don't know me. I'm getting there. That's also concerning. He laughed, soft, like this was fun, like I was fun. And that was new, unfamiliar, not uncomfortable, but not safe. And then Zara, everything shifted, instantly. Because that voice, I didn't need to turn, I did anyway. Victoria Chase, standing just behind Marcus, looking at me, not at him, not at the table, at me. Can I speak to you? Not a question, never a question, I stood, because of course I did. Marcus leaned back slightly, watching, interested. Too interested. We'll continue this, he said lightly. We will not continue this, I thought. I followed Victoria, her office, door closed, silence, familiar, and yet not the same. She stood by her desk, arms loose at her sides. The version of her that existed when she had something to say and was choosing exactly how to say it. You're settling in, she said. Yes, you spoke in the meeting. Yes, it was good. Thank you. A pause. Then who is that? My stomach dropped slightly. What? The new hire, Marcus. She nodded once, like she was filing that away. He seems comfortable. He is. He was very comfortable. There it was. That slight shift, subtle, controlled, but present. He talks to everyone like that, I said. He doesn't talk to me like that. That was not expected. He just got here, I said. That's not an explanation. It's his personality. And you. My breath caught. Because that turn. What about me? You didn't move away. Silence. Because that was true. I didn't need to, I said. No. Her gaze stayed on me, unmoving. But you also didn't want to. That was not professional. That was not neutral. That was something else entirely. I was being polite, I said. You're not polite like that with everyone. My brain paused. Because she was right. Again. And I hated that. A beat passed. Longer, heavier. He shouldn't distract you, she said. There, clear, direct, sharp. I'm not distracted, I said. No, she said quietly. You're not. But the way she said it felt like she was convincing herself. Not me. I left her office with my thoughts slightly out of place. Again. Marcus was still at his desk when I got back. He looked up immediately. Well, he said, fine. That didn't look fine. It was fine. That was not fine. I sat down, opened my laptop, stared at nothing. He leaned slightly forward, studied me carefully. Then she doesn't like me, he said casually. What? She didn't look at me once in that whole interaction, he said. Not when she walked up. Not when she called your name. Not when she walked away. That's normal. That is not normal. That's just... She likes you. Immediate. Certain. I stared at him. That is not what happened. That is exactly what happened. That is not what happened. That is exactly what happened. That is not. That is... I looked away. Because this conversation, again, different person, same conclusion. I don't think so, I said. Okay, he said, and that was worse. Because he didn't argue, didn't push, just accepted it, like someone who already knew and was being gracious about it. Temmie noticed. Of course Temmie noticed. She appeared at my desk after lunch with 2 coffees from the ground floor place and an expression that communicated several things simultaneously without using a single word. The walk through this morning, she said quietly, when she came past your desk and you were talking to Marcus. It was a work conversation. I know that. She set 1 coffee down in front of me. She paused, Temmie said, still not quite looking at me. When she saw you and Marcus, just for a second, something happened in her face that was very brief, but it was there. I looked at my screen. I've worked here 2 years, Temmie said. I've never seen that before. I kept my eyes on the screen. Temmie, I'm not saying anything. You're saying everything. I'm saying nothing. She clicked something on her computer, just noting that she looked, and then she looked again, and the second look was different from the first one. I closed a tab, opened another, stared at it without reading anything. It means nothing, I said. Temmie smiled at her screen. Of course, she said. Diana found me in the kitchen at 3 p.m. Of course she did. She poured her coffee. I made my tea. The specific silence of a conversation that neither person had technically initiated. He likes you, she said, without preamble, without pretext. He's being friendly. He looked up how you take your coffee. He overheard. He filed it and acted on it, Diana said. That's not friendly. That's interested. I said nothing. I'm not judging, she said. He's good at his job. He's personable. A pause. I just think there is already a complicated enough situation on this floor. Adding another variable seemed worth noting. I looked at her directly. What complicated situation? She held my gaze for a moment, then she picked up her coffee. The one everyone on this team can see except apparently the 2 people in it, she said pleasantly, and left. I stood in the kitchen for a long moment. Then I sent Nadia a voice note. I need to talk tonight, she replied in under a minute. I know, come over. Nadia's apartment was quiet and ordered in the way that felt like a deep breath after a long day. I sat on her sofa with tea that tasted better than any I made at home and told her everything. Marcus and the coffee, the lunch, Victoria appearing, the office. He was very comfortable. You didn't move away. He shouldn't distract you. Nadia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Tell me about the late night, she said. You already know about the late night. Tell me again. I told her again. Shorter. The key parts. Complicated and real. The real smile. I'd want to. Nadia was quiet. Then she likes you, she said. I looked at my tea. Not as an observation, she continued. As a fact. She has been showing you for weeks in the specific way very controlled people show things. Carefully, deniably, but consistently. The coffee. The direct questions. The event. The late night. A pause. Today. Today might have been. Today was not nothing, Nadia said firmly. She walked past you and a man who was paying attention to you, and something changed in her expression. Temmie saw it. Temmie is not dramatic. I held my mug in both hands. So what do I do? About Marcus? About all of it? Nadia thought for a moment. Marcus is not a problem, she said. He is a distraction. He is easy and uncomplicated, and part of you is responding to that because what you actually want is not easy and not uncomplicated, and requires courage you haven't fully committed to yet. That landed direct and true. That's very accurate, I said. I know. And also annoying. I know that too. I leaned back against the cushions. She said complicated and real, I said quietly. She smiled like that. And then today she looked at me talking to Marcus and something changed in her face. Yes, Nadia said. That means something. It means everything, Nadia said simply. It means she is paying attention to who pays attention to you. The controlled, careful thing she has been doing has a limit, and Marcus found the edge of it without trying. I looked at the ceiling. She's my boss, I said. I know. This is genuinely complicated. I know. Nadia looked at me steadily. But can I ask you something? Yes. When she came to get you at lunch today, what did you feel? I thought about it honestly. About turning and seeing her standing there. About following her without hesitation. About sitting in that office and feeling everything she said land in places it shouldn't be landing. Like I needed her to know it wasn't anything, I said. Like I wanted her to understand that Marcus was nothing, that there was no reason to. I stopped. No reason to what? Nadia said quietly. I looked at my tea. No reason to look like that, I said, like it bothered her. Nadia nodded once, the nod of someone who had been waiting for exactly that answer. You don't get compared unless you matter, she said. That landed, harder than everything else, because it made too much sense. She noticed him noticing me, I said. She noticed immediately, Nadia said, and she acted on it. Today was not professional behavior. Today was personal. She felt something and the control slipped just enough for it to show. A pause. That's significant. For someone like her, that is very significant. I thought about that for a long moment. About complicated and real. About he shouldn't distract you said like a decision. About the second look Temmie had seen. What do I want? I said quietly, not really asking, more thinking out loud. Nadia let the silence sit for a moment. Then you already know, she said. I thought about the yacht, the wink, everything since, everything that hadn't happened yet. And underneath all of it, one thing, simple, honest. The same answer every time I stopped running from it long enough to hear it. Her, I said. The word came out quiet, without hedging, without qualifying, just her. Nadia looked at me for a moment, then she picked up her tea. Then that's your answer, she said. The rest is logistics. Complicated logistics. Complicated logistics, she agreed. But logistics, not a reason. Thursday morning I arrived at 8:30. Marcus was at his desk. He smiled when I walked past. I smiled back. Professional, warm, clear. Temmie gave me a look from her desk that communicated several things simultaneously. I sat down and got to work. At 9 the elevator opened. The room shifted. She did the walkthrough. Same efficiency, same unhurried deliberate movement. She reached our section. Her gaze moved across the desks. Marcus was looking at his screen. Her eyes found me. I looked up. Our gaze held for exactly the length of a professional acknowledgement. Then she moved past, toward the corner office, and as she passed she said quietly, not breaking her pace, directed at me and nobody else. The third quarter overview you sent yesterday, my office at 10. Of course, I said. The corner office door closed. Temmie leaned over immediately. Was that a work meeting? She whispered. Yes, I said. Just work. Yes. Definitely just work. Temmie, I'm confirming. You're interrogating. I'm confirming, she said serenely, and went back to her screen. I looked at the time. 8:53. 7 minutes. I thought about Nadia's voice. The rest is logistics. I thought about complicated and real. I thought about what I wanted. Her. Simple, quiet, true. I opened the Q3 overview, reviewed every number in it, because I was going to be professional. I was going to be excellent at my job. And if the moment came where something more than the third quarter overview was on the table, I was done running from it. This was no longer subtle, and we both knew it. At 9:58, I picked up my notebook, stood up, walked toward the corner office, knocked on the door. Come in, she said. I went in. Whatever happened next, I was ready. There are moments when your life splits quietly, no sound, no warning, just a shift, a before, and an after, and you don't realize which one you're in until it's already too late to step back. Zara? I looked up. Diana. Of course it was Diana. It was always Diana when something was about to happen. She wants to see you, she said. No name. No explanation. She didn't need one, now? I asked. Diana tilted her head slightly. When she asks, it's usually now. Of course it was. I stood, because of course I did. And for a second, just a second, Diana didn't move. She just looked at me, carefully, like she was about to say something else, something she had decided not to say before. You know, she said slowly, it's interesting, that tone, measured, controlled, sharp in a way that didn't raise its voice. What is? I asked. She smiled. Small, precise. She asked for your file. My brain paused. What? Before you were hired, Diana continued. She requested your application specifically. Silence. Not confusion, not disbelief, just stillness. Because that didn't make sense. She interviews everyone, I said. Yes. But she doesn't request everyone. I felt it then. That shift. That quiet, dangerous shift. She remembered you, Diana added. Not accusing, not kind, just truth, or something close to it. I don't think so, I said. Diana's smile didn't change. You don't have to think, she said. I've been here long enough to notice patterns. A pause. Then, you're new, she added lightly. But you're not random. That landed hard because it meant something. Something I hadn't considered. Something I hadn't wanted to consider. Diana stepped aside, clearing the path. She's waiting, she said. And just like that, it was over. Conversation closed. Door opened. Something set in motion. The walk to her office felt different this time. Not slower. Not faster. Just heavier. Because now, there was something else. Something I didn't have before. A question. One I wasn't sure I wanted answered. I reached the door. Knocked. Come in. Her voice. Same as always. Calm. Controlled. Unchanged. I opened the door. Stepped inside. Closed it behind me. And just like that, it was just us again. She was standing by the window. Not behind her desk. Not sitting. Standing. Looking out at the city like she had been there for a while. Like she had been thinking. You wanted to see me, I said. She turned, slowly. Looked at me, not rushed, not distracted, focused. Yes, a pause. Then, sit, I sat. Because of course I did. She didn't sit immediately. She walked around the desk, deliberate, unhurried. Then stopped. Not across from me, closer. Not inappropriate, but closer than usual. You've been doing well, she said. That was not what I expected. Thank you, you've adjusted quickly. I'm trying. You're. A pause. Then, something shifted. Not in the room. In her. Subtle. But real. You've also been noticed, she said. My heart slowed slightly, because that word. Noticed. By you, I said. It came out before I could adjust it. Before I could soften it. Before I could make it safer. She didn't react immediately. Didn't correct me. Didn't deny it. She just looked at me. Yes, she said. Just yes, no explanation, no distance, no correction. And that changed everything. Silence settled. Different, not professional, not neutral. Something else. You asked about Marcus, I said. Yes, why? She held my gaze, unmoving. Because, of course she did. I observed my team, she said. That's not what that was. A pause, longer. Then, no, she said quietly. It wasn't, there it was, clear, direct, no denial, no deflection. My chest tightened, because we were here now. No space to hide, no safe version of this conversation. You told me he shouldn't distract me, I said. Yes. Why? Another pause, longer this time, heavier. Because this mattered. You're valuable, she said. That's not the answer. It's part of it. I didn't ask for part of it. Her expression shifted. Not dramatically, just enough. You want a direct answer? Yes, she nodded once. Like that was a decision. Like she had just decided something internally. Something that couldn't be undone. I don't like people assuming familiarity with you, she said. My breath caught. Because that was not professional. That's not, I started. Professional, she finished. Yes, I'm aware. Silence. Because what do you do with that? What do you do when someone says something that crosses a line and acknowledges it at the same time? You don't get to decide that, I said. My voice was steady. That surprised me. You're right, she said. No argument, no pushback, just agreement. And that made it worse. A beat passed. Then another. And then, I remember everything stopped. Not slowed, not shifted. Stopped. Completely. What? Her gaze didn't move. didn't soften, didn't change. You said I should come get it myself. My heart dropped. Straight. Immediate. Because the yacht, that night, the champagne, the note, you remembered that, I said. Not a question, a realization. Yes. Silence. Loud. Unavoidable. From the interview, I said slowly. Yes, you knew. Yes, the word hit harder than anything else she had said. Because that meant everything. Everything I thought had happened. Everything I thought hadn't mattered. Everything I thought she hadn't noticed. She had. You didn't say anything, I said. No. Why? She didn't answer immediately. Didn't rush it. Didn't soften it. Just chose her words. Because I wanted to see who you were without it, she said. My chest tightened. Because that was not small. That's not fair, I said. No, she agreed. It's not no defense, no justification, just truth. And the job, I said. You asked for my file. Yes, you made sure I got it. A pause. Then I made sure you were considered. That's not the same thing, no. But it's not nothing either. No. Silence. Because that changed everything. Every interaction, every moment, every look, you knew who I was, I said. Yes. And you said nothing. Yes. This time she didn't hesitate because I was interested, my breath caught. Because there it was, not hidden, not softened, not disguised as something else. Clear, direct, dangerous. Interested in what, I asked. The room felt smaller, quieter, like everything else had stepped back to make space for that word. You don't even know me, I said. I know enough. That's not enough. It was enough to notice. That's not the same thing. No, she said. It isn't. A pause. Then, but it's where it started. Silence. Long, heavy, unavoidable. Because now, there was nothing left to hide behind. No misunderstanding. No assumptions. Just truth. I sent that message by mistake, I said. I know. That wasn't planned. I know. That wasn't false, she asked. My breath caught again. Because that question was not safe. Not answerable in a way that didn't mean something. I didn't know you, I said. That wasn't the question. I know. Silence. Then I don't know you now, I added. Her gaze didn't shift. Then learn, she said. Simple, direct, like everything else. But this time, it wasn't about work. It wasn't about meetings. It wasn't about strategy. It was something else. Something that had been building from the moment I stepped onto that yacht. From the moment I sent that note back. From the moment she chose to remember. And not say anything. I can't, I said. Why? Because you're my boss. Yes, and that matters, yes. And this, I gestured slightly between us. This is not simple. No? Another pause. Then, but it's not nothing either, that was the problem. Because she was right. Again, we stood there. In it. Not moving. Not stepping back. Just there. At the edge of something neither of us could ignore anymore. And for a second, just a second, it felt like the next thing that happened would change everything. And then I stepped back. Physically, this time, because someone had to. Because something had to. Victoria, I said. Her name, first time, out loud. Not ma'am. Not CEO, not distance. Her expression shifted. Slightly, but enough. We can't do this, I said. Not harsh. Not final. Just true. For now, she said. And that was worse. Because it wasn't a denial. It wasn't an ending. It was a delay. I left her office with my thoughts louder than they had ever been, clearer, sharper, more dangerous. Because now there was no question, no confusion, no pretending this was one-sided. She knew, I knew, and whatever this was, it had been real from the beginning. We just hadn't said it. Until now. The problem with clarity is that it removes your excuses. Before I had confusion, before I had uncertainty, before I had the luxury of pretending I didn't understand what was happening. Now I understood everything, and that made it worse. I did not go to work the next day ready. There is no version of ready for a situation where your CEO has looked you in the eye and said she was interested in you. There is only showing up, and pretending you are still a person who knows how to function normally. Are you okay? Jade asked as I stood in the kitchen holding a mug I had not actually taken a sip from. Yes. That was too fast. I am okay. That was rehearsed. I am functioning. That is not the same thing. That is close enough. Jade watched me carefully, like she was deciding whether to push or let me have whatever version of control I thought I had. Did something happen? She asked. I paused, because of course something had happened. Everything had happened. I had a conversation, I said, with her. Yes. Jade went very still, and I looked down at my mug, then back up. She remembers the yacht. Jade blinked. Once. Twice. Of course she does. She remembered me. She knew it was me at the interview, from the beginning. Jade's entire body shifted, like she had just been handed something she needed a second to process properly. She knew, she repeated. Yes. And she didn't say anything. No. Why? I exhaled slowly, because she was interested. Silence. Heavy. Complete. Jade stared at me. You're serious. I am. She said that. Yes. She actually said that. Yes. Another pause. Then oh. Just oh. Yeah, I said. Yeah, Jade repeated. She sat down slowly, like her legs had decided this required a different level of stability. And what did you say? She asked. I said we can't do this. Jade nodded. That's good. For now, I added. Jade looked up. Sharp. What? She said for now. Jade leaned back, exhaled. Long. That is not a good for now, she said. I know. That is a very dangerous for now. I know. That is a this is not over for now. I know. We sat there, quiet, because there wasn't a version of this that was simple anymore. Work felt different, again. But this time not because something had shifted subtly, because something had been said, out loud, clearly, irreversibly. And now every interaction had context. Every look had meaning. Every pause had weight. I walked in, sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and tried to act like nothing had changed. Morning, Diana said. I looked up. Morning. She studied me, longer than usual, more carefully than usual, like she was looking for something and maybe finding it. You look different, she said. That word again, different. I didn't sleep, I said. That's not what I meant. I didn't respond, because I knew what she meant, and acknowledging it would make it worse. Diana held my gaze for a second longer, then nodded, like she had confirmed something, and turned away. The meeting started like every other meeting, except it wasn't, because now I was aware of her, of myself, of the space between us, of the fact that we both knew something no one else did. Zara. My name. Again, of course. What do you think? I looked up, met her gaze. And this time it didn't feel like pressure. It felt like something quieter, something that existed under everything else, something that had been there from the beginning and was no longer pretending not to be. I think we should simplify the rollout, I said. My voice steady, controlled, like I hadn't had my entire sense of balance rearranged the day before. She nodded, listened, and when I finished, do it, she said. Simple, direct, like always. Except her gaze held mine for half a second longer than it needed to, and that was enough. By midday I needed air. Not dramatically, not urgently, just space. I stepped outside, stood by the edge of the building, let the noise of the city settle into something manageable. You're thinking too loudly. I closed my eyes, because of course. Do I ever not? I said. Nadia stepped beside me, calm, predictable, exactly what I needed. Tell me, she said. I didn't hesitate, because there was no point. She said she was interested. Nadia nodded. Like that confirmed something she had already suspected. And she knew about the yacht. She remembered me. She chose not to say anything because she wanted to see who I was without it. Nadia was quiet for a second. Then that's not entirely unreasonable, she said. I turned to her. What? It's controlled, calculated, but not unreasonable. She manipulated the situation. She observed the situation. That's not better. It's not worse either. I stared at her, because that was not the reaction I expected. She's my boss, I said. Yes, that matters. Yes, that complicates everything. Yes, and you're calm about this. I'm logical about this. That is not helpful right now. That is accurate right now, I exhaled, because of course she would see it like this. So what do? I asked. Nadia looked at me, direct, clear. Decide what you want. That's not simple. It is simple. It's not easy. No, she agreed. It's not easy. Silence. Then if she didn't work there, Nadia added, what would you want? I didn't answer immediately, because that question cut through everything, through the job, through the structure, through all the reasons and qualifications and careful language I had been using to keep the real answer at a manageable distance. Down to something much simpler, much more honest. I don't know, I said. Nadia smiled slightly. You do, she said. That night I didn't avoid it. I didn't distract myself. I didn't pretend. I sat on my bed, looked at my phone, opened her contact. Victoria Chase, clean, professional, not enough. I stared at it for longer than necessary, because this was a choice, not dramatic, not loud, just a choice, between safe and honest, between what made sense and what I wanted. I exhaled slowly, because I already knew. I had known for a while. I just hadn't said it out loud, not even to myself. And now I did. The next morning I arrived at 8, earlier than usual, the floor quiet, the particular quality of early morning that belonged to people who had somewhere to be and knew it. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, did 20 minutes of actual work because I was a professional and the work existed regardless of everything else. At 8:30 I stood up. Temmie looked at me immediately. You okay? Fine, I said. You look like you're about to do something. I'm going to get coffee. That is not a coffee face. It is a coffee face. That is a decision face. Temmie. I'm just noting. Thank you, Temmie, I said, and walked toward the corner office. I knocked once. Didn't wait as long as I usually did, because this time I wasn't being called. I was choosing. There was a difference. I had decided it mattered. She looked up, slightly surprised. Just for a second, then controlled again. Zara. Victoria, her name. On purpose. Without distance. I need to say something, I said. She didn't interrupt. Didn't rush me. Just waited. Because she was a person who understood that sometimes the most important thing you could do was give someone the space to say what they came to say. I understand the situation, I said. And I understand why this is complicated. And I understand that we can't ignore that. A pause. I understand all of it. Good. But I also understand something else. Her gaze didn't move. What? I held it. Didn't look away, didn't soften it, didn't step back. I don't want to pretend this isn't happening, I said. I'm done stepping back. I'm done being careful about this in a way that just means I'm running from it. Silence. Heavy. Immediate. Real. And what does that mean? She asked. It means I'm not going to act like this is nothing. I held her gaze. You said I should come to you. Something moved in her expression. The yacht. The note. The message she had sent that I had sent back with instructions. Come get it yourself. And she had. Always. I am, I said. Her expression didn't change. But something in her eyes shifted. And the job, she said. It matters. Yes. It's not optional, I know. And this matters too. A pause. We do this properly, I said. Or we don't do it at all. The word settled between us. Clear. Defined. A line drawn not as an ultimatum, but as a statement of exactly where I stood and what I believed this was worth. She studied me. Carefully. Longer than she had before. Like she was measuring something, weighing it, deciding. The particular stillness of someone who had already done most of the thinking and was arriving at the conclusion. And then she nodded. Once. Properly, she said. Simple. Final. Certain. The same weight she gave everything she meant. That should have been the end of it. A decision. A line. Something clean. Professional. Controlled. But it wasn't. Because neither of us moved. Not immediately. Not like we usually would. Not like this was just another conversation that had reached its conclusion. I was still standing there. Close. Closer than I had been before. Closer than I should have been. And this time she didn't step back. Something that was definitely a smile. Small and real and completely unguarded. The one that changed her whole face. Go back to work, Mitchell, she said. But her voice was softer than any version of that sentence had ever been. I will, I said. But I didn't move. That was the problem. Neither of us moved. Her gaze held mine. Not briefly. Not professionally. Not in a way that could be explained away. Just there. And then something shifted. Not dramatic. Not sudden. Just a decision. She stepped closer. Small. Intentional. Enough. My breath caught. Because this felt different. Not like the almosts. Not like the moments we had stepped back from. This felt like we weren't going to. Zara, she said. My name. Quiet. Not a warning this time. Not a question. Just mine. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her hand lifted. Slow. Careful. And rested lightly against my cheek. Not possessive. Not rushed. Just there. And for a second we stayed like that. Close. Breathing the same air. Not speaking. Not thinking. Just feeling it. You said properly, she said softly. I did. Then we do this properly. Yes. A pause. Small, but full. And then she leaned in. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't something we lost control over. It was chosen. Her lips met mine. Soft. Careful. Like she was giving me time to pull away. Like she would stop if I did. I didn't. And something in her shifted. Just slightly. Just enough. The kiss deepened. Not dramatically. Not intensely, just warmer, more certain. Her hand stayed against my cheek, steady, grounding. Like this, like me, mattered. And for the first time, there was no hesitation. No almost. No stopping. No stepping back. Just us. When she pulled away, it wasn't far. Not completely. Still close. Still there. Still connected. Neither of us spoke. Because we didn't need to. Because whatever this was had just become real in a way it hadn't been before. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. A small laugh followed it, soft, unplanned. That was... I started. She watched me. Waiting. Proper, I finished. And for the first time, Victoria Chase smiled. Not the controlled version. Not the almost smile. A real one. The full, unguarded real one that started at the corner of her mouth and changed her entire face. Go back to work, Mitchell, she said again. But this time it didn't sound like a command. I turned. Finally. Walked to the door. Opened it. And just before I stepped out, I glanced back. She was still watching me. And now there was no distance left to pretend. The door closed. The office was quiet. Victoria Chase sat very still for approximately 10 seconds. Then she exhaled slowly. And smiled again. All by herself. Nobody watching. The same real one. Still there. Still unguarded. Still completely hers. Because of a choice. Because of a girl who had sat in a corner at a yacht party and sent back champagne and told her to come get it herself. Because of everything that had happened since. And she looked at the city outside her coffee and got back to work. With that smile still there. Still real. Still hers. I stepped out into the office. Everything the same. Nothing the same. Temmie looked at me immediately. You get your coffee? I sat down, opened my laptop. Something like that, I said. And this time I didn't even try to hide the smile. Later that night alone, I thought about everything. The yacht, the interview, the message. The moment she said, I remember you. And the moment I said, I'm not pretending this is nothing. And how somewhere in the middle of all of that, this had become something real. Not perfect, not simple, not easy, but real. And for the first time, that didn't scare me. Not enough to walk away. Not enough to pretend. Not enough to choose safe over honest. I closed my eyes, exhaled slowly, and let one final thought settle. Clear, steady, certain. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something better. I want to tell you how Jade found out, not because it happened dramatically. Not because it was a big announcement or a formal conversation. It happened the way most things in my life happened accidentally on a Saturday morning while Jade was eating cereal. 3 weeks had passed since the corner office. 3 weeks of figuring it out properly. The HR disclosure filed cleanly. The reporting line restructured. The specific careful attention that two people give something when they have decided it matters enough to do it right. 3 weeks of small things that were different from all the small things before. A coffee with a note now. 2 words. Good morning. A message at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday that had nothing to do with work. Just thinking about the houseplant conversation. Did the surviving one have a name? I had replied immediately. His name is Gerald. He has survived 3 droughts and 1 incident involving Jade and a watering can. He is resilient. 3 dots. Then Gerald sounds like someone who knows what he wants. I had put my phone down and looked at the ceiling for 45 seconds before getting up and making breakfast. 3 weeks of something quiet and real and still becoming whatever it was going to become. I had not told Jade. Until Saturday morning. She was on the sofa with cereal and her phone. I sat down beside her. Opened my phone. There was a message. The yacht, sent 8 minutes ago. Something happened to my face before I could decide whether it should. Something involuntary and entirely visible. A smile. Small. Real. The kind that arrives before you invite it. Jade looked up from her phone. Looked at my face. Looked at my phone. Put her cereal bowl down very slowly and very carefully. Zara, she said. What? I said. Still looking at my phone, still not managing my expression. Who texted you? Nobody. That is not a nobody face. It's a message. That is not just a message face. I put my phone down, face up, which was a mistake. Switz a message's eyes went immediately to the contact name sitting there. The yacht. Her cereal spoon stopped moving. Her eyes went from the screen to my face, then back to the screen. The yacht, she said. That is her. It's just a name. Zara. What? That is Victoria Chase. Technically. She just texted you. Yes. And you smiled like that. I wasn't. What does it say? That's private. Zara Mitchell, what does that message say? I picked up my phone. Turned it toward her. She read it. Her expression went through approximately 7 stages in 4 seconds. Then she put her hand over her mouth. Then took it off. Then looked at me. She said, good morning, Jade said. Yes. Just good morning. Yes. And you smiled like that. I said nothing, because she was right. Because a good morning from Victoria Chase on a Saturday had bypassed every defense I had and landed exactly where it was supposed to. How long? She said. About 3 weeks. 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks and you didn't tell me. I needed it to be real first. It was always real. Jade. 3 weeks, Zara. I'm telling you now. You're telling me because I saw the contact name. I was going to tell you when. This morning counts as soon. This morning counts as accidental. She stared at me. Then I'm calling Nadia, she said. She already knows. Jade froze. She already knows. I told her the Monday after. Nadia knew before me. I needed the logical response first. I am very logical. You're currently. I am extremely logical. Jade, you screamed 3 times in the last 4 minutes. I was expressing urgency. She looked at me for a long moment. Then in a much smaller voice, Are you happy? She said. I thought about Gerald sounds like someone who knows what he wants. About inevitable and worth it. About the real smile that changed her whole face. Yes, I said, without hedging, without qualifying. Just yes. Jade nodded, slowly. The nod of someone who had been right about something for a long time and was satisfied. Okay, she said. I'm still calling Nadia. Nadia picked up on the second ring. I heard, she said. How did you hear? Jade said. Zara texted me. Jade looked at me. You texted her while sitting next to me. I needed her to know before you called. That is sabotage. That is preparation. Jade, Nadia said calmly. Are you happy for her? Silence. Jade looked at me, at the smile I had apparently been wearing since I sat down. Yes, she said, much more quietly. Obviously, yes. Then that's what matters, Nadia said. I still knew from the yacht, Jade said. You did, Nadia agreed. Before anyone. Technically before Zara herself, Nadia said. Jade pointed at the phone. Exactly. Thank you. Some stories don't end loudly. No dramatic music. No perfect timing. No moment where everything suddenly makes sense all at once. They end quietly, with a decision, with a look, with something small that changes everything. 2 weeks after that Saturday, things were different. Not obvious, not public, not something anyone could point at and name, but different. And the strange part was it worked. We didn't blur lines at work. Meetings were still meetings. Decisions were still decisions. Zara. What do you think? Work stayed work? Clean? Structured? Professional. And yet there was something underneath it now. Something quieter. Something that didn't need to be said out loud because it was already understood. You're smiling at your screen. I didn't look up. I am not smiling. You are smiling. I'm not smiling. You are smiling like someone who has a secret. I do not have a secret. You have a very obvious secret. I glanced up. Diana, of course, watching me carefully. But this time there was something different in her expression. Not sharp, not edged, just knowing. It's just work, I said. It's never just work, she replied. I held her gaze for a second. Then I know, I said. That was enough. She nodded once, like that answered something for her. And for the first time she didn't push. You didn't tell me everything, Jade said that evening standing in my doorway. I told you everything. You told me the professional version. There is no professional version. There is absolutely a professional version. Did you kiss her? I choked. No. Did you almost kiss her? No. Jade narrowed her eyes. That hesitation was suspicious. That was not a hesitation. That was absolutely a hesitation. I turned away. We're doing this properly, I said. That is not what I asked. That is the answer. Jade stared at me, long, dramatic. Then you're in love with her, she said. I froze, because that was too much, too soon. No, I said, immediately, too quickly. Jade smiled, slow, dangerous. Okay, she said, which meant she did not believe me at all. The email came on Friday, short, simple, from Victoria. Saturday, 7 p.m., be ready. I stared at it, because that was familiar. Too familiar. Jade leaned over my shoulder. Read it. Paused. Then, oh my God, she said. What? She's taking you back. Back where? Jade looked at me like I was missing something obvious. The yacht, she said. Saturday came faster than I expected. Of course it did. Things always do when you're not ready for them. I stood in my room, looking at the same dress, again. Because of course it was the same dress. Full circle, Jade said softly, not shouting, just knowing, for once, I'm not wearing it again. You're absolutely wearing it again. I looked at the dress, then at myself. Then at the version of me that had stood in this same spot the first time. The girl who sat in a corner, who sent back champagne, who thought that was the boldest thing she would ever do. I picked up the dress. No argument, no negotiation, just picked it up, because I was not that girl anymore. The yacht looked the same. Of course it did. Lights, music, people, everything exactly where it had been, and yet everything felt different, because I was different. I stepped on, not hesitant, not lost, just aware. And then I saw her, Victoria Chase, standing exactly where she had been the first night. Like she had planned this. Like she had chosen this. Like this mattered. "You came," she said. Same words, different meaning. "I said you should come get it yourself," I replied. Her expression shifted. That almost smile. "You did." A pause, soft, familiar. "And now you did," I added. She stepped closer, not rushed, not hesitant, just certain. "I do what I decide to do," she said. "I've noticed," I said. Silence settled, but not the same silence as before. Not uncertain, not unfinished. This was complete. A waiter passed, carrying champagne. "Of course." Victoria reached out, took 2 glasses, held one toward me. I looked at it, then at her. Then I took it. This time I didn't send it back. That should have been the moment. The full circle, the quiet ending. But it wasn't, because she didn't move away, and neither did I. The city stretched behind us, lights flickering across the water, music somewhere distant, people laughing, living, unaware. And right there in the middle of all of that, everything narrowed down to just us. "You're not running," she said. "No." "You're not hiding." "No, you're different." I held her gaze. I chose to be. Something in her expression shifted, not controlled, not measured, not the version of Victoria Chase the rest of the world knew. Something softer. She stepped closer. Slow, deliberate, the way she did everything, my breath caught. Not because I didn't expect it, because I did. Her hand lifted, and this time it didn't stop halfway. It came to rest against my face, warm, steady, familiar. The same gesture, the one from before, the one that had almost, except this time she didn't stop, and I didn't step back. Her thumb brushed lightly against my cheek, just once, just enough to ground me, or maybe undo me completely. "Zara," she said, my name, soft, like it belonged there. Yes, that was all I managed, because everything else felt unnecessary. She leaned in, not fast, not hesitant, certain, and when her lips met mine, it wasn't a question. It was warm, soft, intentional. Not overwhelming, not rushed, just right. For a second, just a second, it stayed like that, like she was still giving me time, still making sure. I leaned in, just slightly, and that was enough. Something in her shifted. The kiss deepened, not dramatically, not losing control, just closer, warmer, real. Her hand stayed at my face, steady, like she wasn't going anywhere, like she wasn't letting me go. And for the first time, there was no almost, no stopping, no pulling back at the last second. No, we can't do this, just this. The city moved. The music continued. The night carried on. And somewhere behind me, Jade made a sound, loud, unfiltered. Definitely not appropriate for a public venue. Neither of us moved. When she finally pulled back, it wasn't far. Her forehead rested lightly against mine. Close, still, connected. "I should have done that sooner," she said quietly. I smiled, soft. "Real. You like doing things properly," I said, that almost smile, the one that had started everything. "Some things," she said, a pause, "are worth waiting for," and that was it. Not just the kiss, not just the moment, the confirmation, that this had been worth every complicated thing it had cost. Every almost, every for now, every moment of careful, deliberate patience. I exhaled slowly, because something in me finally settled. She stepped back, just slightly, not distance, just enough, and the world came back. But it wasn't the same, because I wasn't the same, because we weren't the same. Jade appeared beside me seconds later. "I knew it," she whispered, shouted. I didn't turn, because I was still looking at her, still in it. Later we stood outside on the pavement, the city cool and late and entirely unbothered. "Good evening, Mitchell," she said. Same words, every time. From the first professional morning to every goodbye since, but different now, carrying the weight of everything that had been built between the first time and this one. "Good evening," I said. She looked at me for a moment, something steady and warm and present. "Text me when you get home," she said. "I will," I said. She walked away. I watched her go. Then I turned and started walking. My phone buzzed before I had made it to the end of the street. The yacht. One word, good. I stopped, looked at it. At that one word she used for everything she meant and nothing she didn't. For my ideas, my work, my choices. For the fact that I had walked onto a yacht tonight in the same dress and taken the champagne this time and not stepped back from anything. Good, I typed back. Good. And stood there for a moment on the pavement with the city around me and a smile I was not going to successfully manage for the foreseeable future. Then I kept walking. Home. Forward. Into something that was not perfect or simple or easy, but was real and chosen and exactly worth every complicated thing it had cost. Into something that had been building since a yacht party, and a sent-back glass of champagne, and a wink that should not have happened and did and changed everything. Because this was never about the yacht, or the message, or the accident. It was about the choice. Between the girl who avoided everything and the woman who chose something complicated on purpose, the story didn't end. It changed. And for the first time, I didn't feel like someone who had wandered into something unexpected. I felt like someone who had chosen it and been chosen back. And that, exactly as she had said from the beginning, was inevitable.
And that's a wrap on today's story. I hope it got you. I hope you laughed. I hope you felt something, because that's exactly why we're here.
If you're new to GL YuriTales, welcome! You found your people. We drop brand new original GL stories Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday. So hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss a story. Thank you so much. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, the best love stories are always the complicated ones. See you soon.